Hi, I'm Stefan, the CTO of Grape, and this is an introduction to Grape server. By the end of this course, you'll be able to set up your own Grape server and troubleshoot basic problems. To follow along, you'll need basic knowledge of networks and Linux. You should be fine around the command line and you should know what a reverse proxy or a database is. Knowledge about Docker helps, but it's not necessary.
Okay, let's start with the technologies we use. And here we start with the backend. Grape is written in Python with the famous Django framework. We also use a popular Python library called Celery for asynchronous tasks like sending emails, push notifications, syncing with Active Directory and stuff like that. So we have different task queues. We have 3 databases, Postgres, Redis and Elasticsearch, and I'll tell you later what they're used for. When you install Grape on the server, all parts of Grape are containerized with Docker and Docker Compose. We'll also get into more details a little bit later. We use Nginx as our reverse proxy, so you don't need to bring your own. And to configure Grape, there's a Grape command, but most stuff can be done inside a web-based setup interface that we call web setup. Grape server also comes with Sentry, an open source application monitoring and error tracking software. We use it to log errors from the backend and the front end. Sentry collects and displays the errors in a super nice interface and is much easier to use than sifting through log files. So this will help you a lot in debugging problems. The front end of Grape is a JavaScript application based on React, which you might have heard, and runs in all modern browsers basically. We also have desktop apps, and they're based on Electron, which runs a Chromium-based browser with some additional features for desktop systems. So it's basically just a browser. The app can be installed through the native app stores on Windows and macOS, but it's also available as an MSI or exe file for Windows or a DMG file for Mac. So you can use that to roll out the application in another way than through the native app stores. If required, you can also download the Linux binaries from our GitHub page, but unfortunately we don't officially support the Linux client, so you can use it, but it's better it's not supported. We have native mobile apps. We have an iOS app and an Android app. Of course, the iOS app is built with Swift. The Android app is built with Java, and both can be found on the respective app stores, Google Play and the Apple App Store. Let's continue with networking. So you can see our basic network architecture here. Let's start with the outgoing requests. Grape needs to make some outgoing requests for push notification, for sending two-factor authentication SMS, for the have I been pawned password check, which is especially useful for guests, and to the Grape Docker registry whenever you do an upgrade of Grape. The Grape server will also make requests to any website if a user posts a link to a website. So we can render a link preview inside the chat. And it's also used for external search like YouTube or Giphy. It also needs to make requests to those services. If you're installing Grape in a high security environment, you can disable link previews and you can disable certain external searches. The Grape server also needs to be able to talk to user management systems like Active Directory and to any integrations that it's connected to, like Jira or Confluence, and you need to make sure that on the network level it can make requests to those servers. Usually it's in the internal network and not in the DM set, but if you want to put the Grape server in the DM set, you would need to make sure that it can connect to all those internal systems. The Grape clients only connect via HTTPS and secure WebSockets, both on port 443. And in our experience, most proxies, firewalls, reverse proxies, web application firewalls, and so on can deal with WebSockets. But if you run into any weird connection problems, especially with a new setup, try to rule out if it's something with the WebSocket connections. I already mentioned Sentry, and you can also see it in the network diagram. It needs to be reachable from the internet because the web client logs directly into Sentry. It also needs its own subdomain for that. Usually it's sentry.grape.example.com, or sometimes maybe when you have a wildcard certificate for example.com, you could use a subdomain directly under that, like sentry-grape.example.com. Now let's talk about requirements. What do you need to set up Grape server? First of all, you will need a virtual machine or a bare metal server. For the hardware requirements, please check out our documentation. They might have changed already when you're watching that video. Right now, for example, for less than 100 concurrent users, we recommend 2 virtual CPUs or 1 core and 4 gigs of RAM. In the Grape server setup tutorial, my colleague Christoph will use 4 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM. You will also find information on how to calculate the storage requirements in the docs. Uploaded files, for example, take a lot of space, so you could use an existing storage server if you already have one and just mount it into the Grape server. The next question is, which operating system should you use? First of all, you need to be able to run Docker on it. Check out our requirement docs to see which versions we support. We recommend Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat or CentOS.